Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are, of course, your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast. We're back. It's been a busy last 24 hours in the Spurs sphere as we are waiting further news as Tottenham Hotspur have made two, it appears, blockbuster, you can't even call them opportunistic, massive inquiries for two players that would maybe change the game. If you was for the very first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms, we're of course on X, we're on Facebook and Instagram, and we are on Blue Sky too. I've got a top tier panel that are also going to be looking forward to Spurs' of course, cup final to come. Less than 24 hours right now. We are building up to, of course, PSG to come. Back on the show alongside me, we've got a Dr. Tottenham crossover here. Billy and Vass are back from Dr. Tottenham. Vass, how are you, mate? Lovely to see you. You well?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Ricky. Nice to be back with you fellas on Last Word on Spurs. Yeah, and Dr. Tottenham takeover with Billy on board as well. So I'm feeling right at home at the moment.
Absolutely. We've got that sofa ready for you, and Bill's making it as much comfortable as possible. Bill, how are you, bud? Lovely to have you back alongside us.
Yeah, very good, man. Didn't sleep much last night after the shenanigans deep in the night, but yeah, getting there, man. All good. It's good to be on with you guys.
And mate, likewise, happy to have you here. And also we got the wonderful.
I don't know how we were talking at 2:30 last night, Rick. I don't know what's going on there, but we were messaging each other still.
This was like just a continuation. We should have really stayed online. Also back on the show, he needs no introduction. We've got the wonderful Ash over at Spurs Kings TV. Ash, we gave you a bit of a week off. You're back. It's all hell for them from here, mate. How are you, bud?
Listen, it's the first time featuring with the doc in the house. I'm a bit nervous because I don't know if I was too early to see him. You know what I mean? I was hoping to see him at the end of the season. I don't know, man. But yeah, man, we moved. Big up Billy as well, as always, doing his thing. Big up to the chat and people on the playback listening on their way to work or wherever.
Absolutely. Ash, thank you so much. Look, as we know, it's been a fairly eventful last 24 hours in terms of Spurs fandom, Spurs fan base. We know Spurs look like they are closing in on a player that we know has been the number one target for so many Spurs fans out there over the last 2 to 3 years, and how much we would love to see Eberechi Eze donning the white and blue of the Spurs kit. How realistic is that transfer? We'll be coming to that and more on this show. We know Spurs, on the back of the last 24 hours, have had genuine interest in Manchester City winger Savinho. That is still ongoing. Things are still in play. It feels like it's going to be, as I've mentioned already, a big week for Tottenham in terms of what they can pull off. But I do want to take us back to the start of the week and just go to Bill to maybe address a certain elephant in the room. As many know, Bill is again, we share him with Dr. Tottenham. He obviously features on here quite regularly as well, Bill, and obviously he's part of the Change for Spurs organisation themselves. They obviously were, in the process of really creating some form of event ahead of this week. Bill, if you want to fill us in on that and where that situation is right now, given what's happening at the moment in the Spurs sphere.
Yeah, so I'll very quickly take you guys through the timeline. Obviously, on the Sunday, we had the Bayern Munich game. We got thrashed. And then, at Change for Tottenham, we were getting hundreds of messages. Fans weren't happy. I think the general mood in the fan base was quite low after that game. The transfer window at that point, we brought in Palhinha on loan and Kudus. As I was surrounding our rivals, we're all bringing in, multiple players, big name players. Man United had just got Sesko over the line and stuff like that. And the fan base was angry. And, at Change for Tottenham, we've always promised to be a voice for the fans. We were getting lots and lots of daily messages saying, are you going to do anything for Burnley? And the problem is with, obviously we're a week away from Burnley at this point, and it's really difficult to arrange a full-scale protest. So what we thought was, right, there are two options here. We either wait till after the transfer window to do a protest, or we do a quick turnaround for Burnley. And the thing is, right, what we kind of discovered was, or what we kind of thought anyways, if we wait till after the transfer window, there's no way that the board can react until January. It's a long time. Nothing really can happen. Nothing really can change. We thought if we try and apply a bit of pressure for the next first home game back, put some pressure on at Burnley, we won't be able to do a full-scale march and protest like we have done before because we've only got a week to organise it. But maybe we can organise a bit of a meet-up, a bit of a small-scale protest, get some pressure on the board and see how they react to that. And then hopefully they've got 2 or 3 weeks left in the transfer window. Maybe if they see that fans are angry. It's a big gamble, of course, because as we've seen this week, the transfer window can change in a day's time. I think, lots of the fan base, even still, we're all kind of at this point where now we're excited, but fans have been here before. We've been to the point of, where we've been excited by Tottenham. We've been excited by the links. Even in this transfer window, everyone was buzzing by the Morgan Gibbs-White thing. That didn't materialise. We've had Dybala. We've had plenty of times over the years where we've been promised players like this and they haven't materialised. So at the moment, it's a bit up in the air. We're still protesting at the moment. And, I'm not, it's a really difficult thing for us to organise completely, because if Tottenham by Saturday, say, for example, get Eze and Savinho over the line, everyone's going to be buzzing. And that's the ambition that we all dream of. That's what we've always wanted. Let's not make no mistake about that. And then we'll have to reassess the situation. But until then, we want to put pressure on the board. We want this, the way that they're acting now, that's how we want them to continue to act. And we want to show them that we're not going away as a protest group and as a fan group, because to be able to do this constantly is what we want. And you've seen Arsenal do it, Liverpool do it for multiple windows. This is the first time where it looks like they might be acting like a big club, but we need to see that sustained. So we're not going anywhere. But keep an eye on the socials as we announce the protest for Saturday.
Bill, thank you so much for that clarification. Can I just ask you, Bill, before we do go into where we are at the moment on the window, how much pressure now is there in not just getting one, but maybe both of these deals over the line for Eze and Savinho, given how many times we have been here with Tottenham in the past when it comes to high-profile names that, for whatever reason, haven't got over the line in the past? We can name them all: the Moutinhos, the Damiels, the Morientes, the Jets, the Fernandezes. I mean, how much pressure is on the club right now to deliver, given the fact that these links have been made public, and given from what we're hearing, there's been a suggestion from both of the players' camps they want to come to Tottenham?
I think there's huge pressure, to be honest with you. I think Savinho kind of came out the blue, and I don't think anyone's expecting it. And I think he'd be such a game changer for us in terms of our wing play. The other one is Eze. Eze is a completely different scenario for me, because every single transfer windows for the last 2 or 3 years, Tottenham fans have been obsessed with Eze, haven't we? It's been one of those moves that's been you've probably spoken about on this podcast for 2 or 3 years going back. It's been one of those moves that the Tottenham fan base have been obsessed with. And to make that public and then not deliver it would be huge mistake for the board, I think. So I think there's huge pressure to deliver it, because he's a player that the fan base are in love with. He's one of the only names that I've seen that really sort of unifies the fan base, that everyone that you speak to really wants, and everyone would say that's a major signing. And obviously the added heat of it is that Arsenal are also linked with it as well. You can imagine the bad press if he goes to Arsenal now. That would be an absolute PR nightmare for the board. So I do think there's huge pressure, mate. And I think as soon as those links become public, I've seen some people suggest that maybe they're just putting those links out to placate the fan base. But I think if that goes wrong now, they're going to be in a much worse position than they were if they hadn't have done that. So I don't buy that personally. I think they've got to deliver these now.
Yep. Listen, we're going to see. We're going to bring you up to date and up to speed as to where we are at this moment in, of course, this transfer window. Before we do that, look, guys, if you can, for us, really important that we do share these shows out to a wide range Spurs audience. If you haven't already, if you can hit that subscribe button for us, if you can like the show to get this out to a wide range Spurs audience, we would greatly appreciate it. Look, we are counting down and we're on the eve of the Super Cup final against Paris Saint-Germain. And we know how big this week is for Spurs. Our Premier League campaign starts, of course, on Saturday at home to Burnley. And we know Spurs are in, I say, desperate need. They want to strengthen the squad between now and then and before the end of the window. That has been the clear message coming out from the hierarchy. And from what we understand, the club are targeting, as things are at the moment, a new centre-back, a number 10 on their shopping list. And Frank revealed after the Bayern game, they would look to sign a replacement for Heung-Min Son if the right option is there for them. Now, since that, there has been reports that Spurs want to add 2 attacking players to the squad. As I've mentioned, they are in the market for a centre-back, which we understand is one of the priorities between now and the end of the window. As Bill touched upon, I'm going to start with Vass on this point. The last 24 hours has been crazy. It has been crazy. And this has all come about because Spurs have reopened talks over a move for Eberechi Eze. Now, crucially, his 68 million release clause expires on Friday, not in 2 weeks before the season commences. And we understand Spurs are pushing to beat Arsenal to the Crystal Palace attacker. Tottenham view Eberechi Eze as a number 10, and it means their pursuit is separate to that of Savinho. Now, from what we understand at the time of recording, Eze is understood to be keen on the move to Tottenham, and he's informed Crystal Palace of his desire to play Champions League football. And this deal is now firmly dependent on club-to-club talks, but Spurs are seriously working on it. Vass, let's kick off with you. Gut feeling, what do you see this happening? How do you see maybe Tottenham getting this over the line if they can? A player they've been linked with so many times over the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, listen, it's never going to be straightforward. It never is with Spurs. And rumours at the moment aren't really doing it for me. We had the Here We Go on Morgan Skid White, didn't we? And that what happened there. So I'm hoping we can grab it as I think for a long while he seemed destined to join Arsenal. And in fact, I was chatting with Billy in our WhatsApp group for our pod, and I said that I felt Arsenal might be in a position where they might have to sell. And that's really why they've gone cold on Eze. I hope I'm right. I don't have any inside info. I did see a video by an Arsenal fan a little while before coming on air, and he was bemoaning the fact that Arsenal haven't shifted anybody yet. I think Zinchenko, Fabio Vieira, Trossard, the Conga, all these guys, they were supposed to get rid of them, and they haven't managed to shift any of them yet. So the only thing that's giving me hope at the moment is that I do feel Arsenal have to sell before they can bring him in. Whereas I do believe Spurs, they get involved when they feel they have a chance. Okay. And that's why I sort of believe that something might happen. But we all know how this industry works, Rick. You know, you could be leading the race. Look what happened with Willian a few years back. You know, he was about to sign the blooming contract, and he ended up at Chelsea somehow.
Jumped out the window, I think. He
probably jumped out the window, and did a runner. But so you can never say never. But I'm hopeful, but it's only a small hope at the moment. I don't see him in the shirt, and club admin, social media admin putting out a video. Then I'm always a little bit skeptical.
That's the famous Jason McGovern line that Vass just used there. Got to see him in the shirt. Don't mock him up in someone else's shirt. Got to see him in the shirt. Look, I'll come round to you, Ash, because at the time of recording this show, we're getting constant updates as we go here. Now, we're hearing this from Ben Jacobs, of course, friend of the show. Ben has said that Tottenham are prepared to do a deal worth around 60 million for Eberechi Eze, but have also approached Crystal Palace to understand his release clause in case they decide to trigger it or match it. Key thing here, Thomas Frank is a big fan of Eberechi Eze and is driving the move, and crucially, with Eze open to it. Ash, how much do I know you want this move to happen? How much I know the Spurs fan base want this move to happen? Can we drive this to a positive conclusion?
Listen, when they spoke about Eze, I had to stop watching the transfer shows. I just had to just pull it all aside. You know, I'm an Eze stan. You know what I mean? I'm a massive fan of Eze. And one of the first rants I went on was about Eze, you know. And I remember last season, you guys were reassuring me, don't worry, Ash, Eze's going to happen. All of our people are telling us.
I was to me, actually. I was reassuring you.
Listen, you, Patrick, all of the cast behind the scenes was like, Ash, don't worry. We're going to get I'm naming all the names. Everyone was telling me, Ash, chill out. I said, bro, you just don't know this club. Trust me, I know this club at the back of my hand. So I'm not getting excited. So right now, if I'm a bit pessimistic, please forgive me because I do have PTSD. Allow me. But look, when it comes to Eze, I'm very, very defensive because in the fan base, and I've been in a lot of WhatsApp chats, and there seems to be a thing where fans are under appreciating his passing ability. And for me, he is matured into a top elite player, especially when he's trying to find his teammates. He's very unselfish. So against a low block, against a team when they're on a transition, when he's centrally and he's trying to make that final third decision and he's scanning, he's able to make passes with the right weight of pass. I would say that, first of all. I've seen him against Thomas Frank's Brentford get behind Norgard and find Mateta with a reverse pass with a back heel around the player. And you know how compact Frank likes his defenses. So that's why I know Thomas is a fan, because he's had it happen to him. So if people are telling me that Eze cannot pass and he hasn't got a good way to pass, I'm going to lose my mind. Trust me. Even if you watched him in the Charity Shield, the amount of times he found Moniz on that right-hand side, bombing up and down, that quick switch of play, he's got a variety of passes, chip passes, over the top, curlers, travelers. you name it, reverse. I don't want to go too much into it, but just know Eze can pass. And even in key passes, he's one of the top 5 attacking midfielders when it comes to key passes. I just want to get off my chest because people are saying, I don't know about him because I don't know if he can pass. It was winding me up. I just had to get off my chest. But yeah, listen, I don't know if he's going to come, but I just know he is a game changer. He's a difference maker. And all the players we've been linked with, the difference between Eze and the rest is that in that final third, he's that one player that can shoot outside the box. He's got a high shot volume. And that's the reason why you see them hit those shots from outside the box with curlers, on the half volley, on the volley, on his instep, different finishes, around the keeper. Do you know what I mean? He plays like a false 9 at times. He can do it all. So that's the difference between I know everybody loves El Canoes. No disrespect to him. He's a young and up-and-coming baller, and we're linked to him. And I like what he does in the defensive third. I even like what he does in the middle third. But if you want to talk stats, because people love stats nowadays, if you want to look at his attacking returns for an attacking midfielder in terms of goals in the Premier League, not all other division, no other leagues outside of the top 5 leagues, it's not quite the level that we need to replace Son, Maddison, Kulusevski, and do remember our striker Solanke has been out. He's only had 45 minutes of pre-season. We are in desperate needs of attacking returns, and his shot level, his accuracy, his power, shot power, that's unmatched.
Well, it's 91 direct goal involvements that have been ripped out of this team. So I think we are all acutely aware of the need to strengthen the side. I know we're talking about attack. Bill, bless him, is keeping me updated about what is happening around Spurs. It is obviously one of those shows you've got to just keep deviating and moving as regards to what's coming in. We are hearing breaking news coming through from friend of the show, Jack Pitt-Brooke, who has confirmed that Tottenham are closing in on a new improved contract for Jed Spence. So there's some extra news at the moment. Jed Spence closing in on a new and improved contract with Tottenham. If that gets announced, we'll bring you more on that. We're going to shift our way back if we can to Eberechi Eze. Bill, I know the same as me. We are concerned about the potential of Arsenal maybe coming back in for him. I hear what Vass was saying earlier, and I don't think Tottenham at this stage, I might be wrong in saying this, Bill, and if I am, I'm going to get clipped up and framed up and God knows what comes with it. Would Tottenham go back in at this stage if they would generally feel there was a concern of Arsenal coming back in? You know, from what we understand with Arsenal, the delay from their end is they're looking for buyers for Leandro Trossard, who we understand is looking for an exit. There is also suggestions that Martinelli as well, he may be also looking for a move elsewhere. So Arsenal have got quite a bit to do on the outgoings. And Fabrizio Romano did say that Spurs have stolen a march on Arsenal and are ahead when it comes to the groundwork for this. Are you still massively concerned, Bill? There is still a lot more to play here, given that at the moment we haven't obviously agreed with Palace how we're even going to deal with this fee, whether it's going to be through the release clause or it's going to be through a fee outside the release clause. It feels there's still a lot to go here right before we actually are at a point where we can say, right, he's going to be a Tottenham player.
Yeah, man, I'm a little bit concerned, definitely. I think there's a few factors in play. I think one of them, obviously, the thing about Arsenal is their fans are absolutely fuming about this. I don't know if you've seen online, their fans
they are nuts.
They're
not
not happy
nuts.
at all. And I'm worried they might pick up that vibe online and then react to it and say, actually, do you know what, we'll just go and get him then. Because let's be honest, they can afford it and they've shown ambition to do that kind of thing, multiple transfer windows, when we haven't, sadly. The other thing that I'm a little bit worried about as well is Gahey going to Liverpool. That's another big player gone. I don't think it should affect it too much because from Steve Parrish's interview at the weekend, he did seem to be resigning the fact that both of them seem to be going. And then also in the Athletic today, Mateta is coming up as a big target for Newcastle as well. So I can't see Palace losing all 3 of those players in one window. That would be an absolute disaster for them. So my hope is that I think what we might have to do is just bite the bullet and play the release clause by Friday. Then Palace don't have a say. Take the negotiation out of the picture. Take Arsenal out of the picture. Take everyone out of the picture. Just be a big club for once. Because Tottenham do this so much. They dangle everything in front of you that right, that's the missing piece right there. As Ash has just been saying, man, Eze is the missing piece for our team. I think it'll be such a big transfer, and they dangle it right in front of us. And they've dangled those kind of transfers in front of us before. Do you remember when we wanted Bastoni under Conte, when we wanted Moutinho under AVB, and they didn't get them over the line, and it had a big effect on the team. If this one fails again, it's another example of being dangled again right in front of us and not come tonight. And if he then ends up at Arsenal, boy, that'll be a big podcast on this one. Big
Well,
anger. So just go and be a big club and do it, Tottenham, please.
It goes back to that point, doesn't it, Vass? I mean, I do believe this. For Tottenham to go back in at this point now, maybe I'm kidding myself. Maybe I am kidding myself. There must be some degree of confidence, Vass, that they must know Arsenal aren't at the moment looking at the player because, it's been so quiet for the last 2-3 months with regards to Spurs' pursuit of Eze. They backed away from him. But the fact they've come back in now so late after the Maddison injury, does that give you confidence that we are, I wouldn't say we're in a race of our own because even that we know we could still mess up.
I'm second in the one-horse race.
Yeah, I see online there's a sense that fans want to be excited, but we've been hurt so many times before on these higher profile transfers, especially under this board, in terms of trying to get these kind of deals over the line. Vass.
Yes, it's akin to what I said earlier on, Rick. I think for Spurs to be back in the frame now, they must feel that they at least have a chance because Arsenal have gone quiet on it. I think possibly, who they signed? They got Gyökeres recently.
Mosquera.
Splashed out on Mosquera and whoever else. They've thrown a lot of money at their transfers.
Madueke as well. Madueke wasn't a small thing.
Madueke, that's the one I was trying to think of.
As well.
Yeah, Zubimendi.
Yeah,
they spent a lot of money. They spent a lot of money. Arsenal.
Spent a lot of money. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So, and this is why, because if you notice, earlier in the transfer window, there was a lot of talk about Arsenal and Eze, but then it all just went quiet, didn't it?
Yep.
Now, it's a bit of a shame that it took Maddison getting injured for Spurs to sort of wake up. But off the back of that, I think, they must sense that they do have a chance. So I'm with you on that. I think previously, though, I love what Ash was saying about Eze and that, he's a massive...
The Travellas.
Yeah, he sold me for sure. Get him in right now. But initially, when we were talking about Eze coming in for Son, I couldn't really see it. Like, I know he plays on the left, but I didn't know whether he was the right fit and, a lot of money for the 27-year-old and whatever. But if we're going to treat this guy as a 10, which it sounds like that's the vibe, then go get it. And to back up what Billy said, we've got to put our big boy pants on and just start behaving like a big club, right? If we're prepared to do, as Ben Jacobs apparently said, a £60 million deal right now, and the guy's release clause is 68, why not just blow the competition out of the water and go and get the man if this is the guy you want? It just ends everything then, doesn't it?
Yeah. I just feel like this deal, I don't know if you guys agree, I just feel like we can't afford to let this drag on. I just feel like the longer it drags on, I think it goes back to your point, Bill, the more concern is that a rival club, whether it's Arsenal or someone else, will come in for him because he is that good.
This is what happened with Morgan Gibbs-White. Met the release clause, medical booked, whatever, and then it all went sort of tits up for a bit. And everybody was still confident that the deal would go through for some reason. And I was telling the fellas in our group that the quieter it was getting and the fact that Spurs weren't saying anything was making me uneasy. And in the end, we all know what happened with that particular transfer. But no, we've got to go for it. If we've targeted Eze for a reason, then we should just push the boat out now.
The same thing happened last season as well, if you remember, when they lost Salise, and as soon as they lost Salise and the release clause went, Palace was just going to stand firm because Parish is a tough negotiator, man. Like, he's not. Yeah. If the release clause is out, I would seriously worry for us if the release clause is gone and us negotiating versus Parish. He's happy to stand firm. He showed it last season. Rejected 60 million for Gay, then 60 million again in January, 70 million before, was it for Newcastle or whatever. This guy's a tough negotiator, so I think we need that release clause to get over the line.
Sorry to jump in, Ricky.
Please.
I have mentioned the Morgan Gibbs-White's transfer a couple of times so far, but this will be the last time I mention it.
Only 5 times, but it's absolutely fine.
It could be that we've learned something from that, because if what you guys are saying, Spurs are going back to Palace, wanting to know the details of the release clause, then it seems clear to me that they don't want to balls it up like they did last time. If they're going to meet the release clause, then let's make sure at least that we know exactly what conditions need to be met so that we don't end up with a
And the
Keeps
thing
right
with the
situation
release
again.
clause, it will probably be a lot more money up front than it won't just be 68 million. It'll be mostly up front. I think that's probably why we're trying to negotiate. But at the end of the day, you just have to pay the money for these players if you want them. Really, I think that's the lesson we need to
It's
learn.
around 40 million for the first piece. I think that's why most clubs were
That's a lot
turned
of
off
money.
because it was too much money up front.
Yeah.
Versus like normally we do business where it's like 3 installments or 4 corner deals. Do you know what I mean? 20
you
mil
know,
here.
it goes back to that point. Actually,
We
you
are
come back in.
Tottenham.
At some point, you know, we're going to have to, as we've said, Ash, you know, we said so many times, me and you on this show, we're going to have to gate crash or break this wage structure. We're going to have to, if you want to be a big club and you want to win the Premier League and you want to win the Champions League, which is what this hierarchy have told us they want to do, then you're going to have to act like a big club and be ready to have to break those structures. You just simply are. And I know for some out there that might see as I don't know, they would see that as reckless spending. But in the lights of Eberechi Eze, actually, if you've told us and sold us to him already, for those that weren't sold on him, this is a quality player, peak prime of his career, 14 goals last season, a cup final winner as well in there.
Yeah.
I mean, what more do you need proof? What more proof
exactly. Big game play. He's done it in the quarterfinal, the semi-final, and the final. He did it 3 times. So he shows that he's got the mentality and he's got the minerals to get us over. We need big game players that turn up against that top 6. Do you understand? So we can get over the lines. He's had big games against Arsenal. He's had big games against Liverpool. He's had big games against us. I've seen him against London derbies. He's just turned up. So those type of characters you want inside the dressing room, and he's very humble as well, down to earth. So that on the face of it, commercially, that sells that kind of problem where Son's been left. And ultimately, where he can play as a left wing or an attacking midfielder, he's a blend of both. He's a hybrid. And as I said before, sometimes he drops into the false 9, but people had concerns of him working in that defensive third. He's able to pick the ball off Mitchell and drive at players. And then at times, he's allowed Mitchell to run off him and he's held back. So he's also matured in that sense where he's got a different level of respect for his peers, his teammates. He knows when to link up, when to, interchange with players and do little short passes. Then he knows when to find players that are making runs off of him. And he knows when to kind of, as I said before, when Mateta drops in, he'll be the one making that run off the player. And some of these players that we've been linked with, it's the off-the-ball running where I'm concerned about. Eze has that. He's got the off-the-ball running. He likes players that are running off him. He's very unselfish. And he knows where to drop into pockets where he's not been able to pick up, so he can drop in between the lines as well as being the focal point. Like, he's got it all. Do you know what I mean? And the physicality. A lot of these players that we're linked with, I don't want to dump on them, but I'm just saying physicality, because they're 19 years old, because they're 20 years old, they still have to develop physically. And where Eze has the spatial awareness and the football IQ, because he's had the minutes in the actual game, he knows when to release the ball. He knows when to do a disguised pass with a little bit of something on it, or when to slow the game down. Do you know what I mean? He can do that. So that's what you're going to get with an Eze, an elite player. Someone that can play left wing, hug the touchline at times. Do you know what I mean? Take players out the game, go down the line, and then whip crosses in, or go into that quarter or half space or the pockets, what I call it, and hit those diagonal passes. And I know Frank loves those diagonal passes because that's what you would tell Mbeumo to do. Getting that just on the edge of the area, whip that cross in, back stick, Solanke, boom. Or in that case, it was Tony or Watkins, or do you know what I mean? How many strikers has he done it for? So that, or Wisa. So he's adding that type of element to the game, because you can't really pick up a player if they're constantly finding space on the move. Sometimes they're a forward, sometimes they're a midfielder, sometimes they're a winger, sometimes they drop into the left back, similar to what Maddison was doing. Maddison was always wanting the ball, always showing for the ball. He would drop into that position and he would be, I'm the main man, don't worry about it. I'm going to pick up the ball. Do you know what I'm saying? And I haven't even spoken about his dribbling, because that's what everyone knows about. That's blatant to see. But people don't really talk about his passing. They don't really talk about his link play and his final third distribution in terms of attacking returns. That's rarely mentioned, in my opinion. So that's why I got to double down on it. Do you know what I mean? He's that kind of level where he could be a game changer, and he could free up players like Kudos. He could free up an Odegaard or Tel. Do you understand? Because so many players are drawn to him like a magnet. I've seen 4 or 5 players drawn to him because he's such a problem. And when I grow up, I used to watch football, and I would watch a player and try to emulate it on the park. So when I was growing up, I used to like Steve McManaman. And the reason why I liked Steve McManaman was because when he kicked the ball, he used to like it. He used to hit it with his laces. So he keep the ball very close to him and he played with his head up. That's what Eze does. And when you play with your head up and you're right in the middle. You could either go left or right. Players don't know what to do. Do you know what I'm saying? You've got that low center of gravity. You've got that strong ability in your. So these are the players that got me excited that I want to emulate, and I'm hoping kids as well. They're watching this and they're like, "Oh yeah, I want to emulate," and that's what sells shirts, bro.
Yeah. You know, on that point you say there, Ash, this is the thing, isn't it? I don't know if you guys agree. I mean, Vass, I'm not going to age you, bless you. You know, I think back for me growing up, you know, the likes of Ginola, you know, and seeing the era of having a figurehead at the club. Now with Sonny departing the club, it feels like the club haven't actually got that figurehead. For some, it would have been Carrick, would have been Modric, would have been Berbatov, would have been Jermaine Defoe, Robbie Keane. You know, you look to those kind of players as the figurehead that you go and watch week in, week out. It feels at Tottenham right now with the departure of Heung-Min Son, there isn't quite that figurehead at the football club. Whereas I just feel, I don't know if you agree, Vass, someone like Eze coming in, he is a shirt seller. I think he is the kind of player that gets all the kids down to the mega store and wants an Eze 7 or an Eze 10 on the back of their shirt. Would you agree, Vass?
Black top as well, Champions League.
You sure it's Eze and not Yang?
Not this season, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. Listen, yeah, we've said this before about not just lack of kind of your classic flair, star, whatever you want to call it. It's almost always a lack of leadership as well in the side that we all moaned about last season. But yeah, Eze could be that guy for sure. Eze most certainly could be that guy. And if we'll get on to Savinho, who knows? You know?
Okay. Well, listen, in terms of Eze, that is where we stand at the moment. So that final update we're going to bring to you on him, as I mentioned at the point of recording on this show, is just to be very, very clear. Thomas Frank, massive, massive fan of the player. Spurs, they've approached Crystal Palace to understand the release clause in more detail and how they would do a deal around it. Again, 60 million is what we understand the fee. Tottenham are prepared to do a deal for Eberechi Eze. Is that going to be around the release clause, outside the release clause? We remain to be seen. But the key thing about this is Thomas Frank wants the player wants Tottenham. God, it sounds easy. What can go wrong? Let's see. What could go wrong? The player wants Tottenham. Frank wants him. What could go wrong? As we touched upon earlier, before we bring in a Savinho update, we understand Jed Spence is on the verge of signing a new long-term contract with Tottenham. There's been advanced talks that have taken place in these last few days. Final formalities are expected to be concluded later on this week. It's a new contract that will run until 2029 with an option of a further year. So Jed Spence on the verge of tying a huge amount of his future to Tottenham Hotspur. Now, along with Eberechi Eze, we know that who else has been linked with the club, and there's been a few tentative links about him in this last 24 hours. We're a little bit quieter on him. I know there might be some concern about that. And that, of course, is the Man City winger, Savinho, which, again, for a lot of fans, brings a lot of excitement, brings, again, a lot of pace to the side, unpredictability, like an Eze, having them on both flanks, or Eze operating as a 10, is very, very exciting. We understand, as things are at the moment, Tottenham are expected to return to the table with an improved offer for the Man City winger. It is expected that it will take an offer of around 60 million for City to consider selling the Brazilian. If it's anything below that, it feels like a waste of time. City are not going to come to the table. Fabrizio Romano does expect Tom to lodge an improved offer for the Brazilian in the coming days. He said the player is quite open to joining Spurs and working with Thomas Frank. Again, this is the key thing here we're seeing, guys. Frank is really, really pushing for the player. And he thinks Tottenham will push on the deal with Savinho again in the next few days, all within a matter of hours, to try and get it over the line. And Bill, I'll start with you on him if I can. You know, I think it's fair to say didn't have the most greatest first season at City. I think you probably have to go back to his stats at Girona to get more of a inkling as to why teams like the look of this kid, why City took the gamble. What's your gut feeling for you on this one, Bill? And do you understand why there might be a bit of concern by the fact it was just the one, I think, goal last season in relation to putting this size of an offer in for a player?
I would also point to that, you know, the sort of the goal and assist, the GA that Man City wingers traditionally get, because, you know, people like Doku, you know, even Jack Grealish moving on this summer, the way that City operate, the wingers don't tend to get a lot of goals. especially when they've got a striker like Erling Haaland in the middle. So I wouldn't be too concerned on that. I think looking back at his stats in Girona, I think it's the first season, his breakthrough season at Girona, he got 10 goals, 9 assists, all the other way around, one of the two. And he played on the left there as well. And I think for Tottenham, he'd be coming in to play on the left. Obviously with Kudus, one of our star players during pre-season. I don't think Savinho will be playing on the right and Kudus will be playing in the 10. It looks like we're going to buy a 10. I know some people are suggesting that. For me, I'm absolutely buzzing about this because when Ash was talking about earlier about growing up watching football, when I think about growing up watching football, I was from the era, man, of two wingers on either side of a striker, 4-4-2, two incredible wingers, left and right wing. And suddenly, if we had Savinho to Kudus, we've got a winger on each side that is an absolute nightmare to defend against. They're both 1v1 specialists. They're both amazing at dribbling. Savinho, I think he's got some of the best take-on stats in the whole league last season. And I think suddenly, if you're lining up with those two against your defence, it's a completely different ballgame playing against Tottenham. My real concern, especially when we lost Son, was that we don't really have that bit of X factor anymore. We don't have that sort of star player, that player that the defender's going to look at, or the team sheet are going to look at, saying, "Oh, is Son playing today? Is Harry Kane playing today? We need to make a plan for him." But suddenly, if you had Savinho into that, I think that's an absolute nightmare of him and Kudus on the left and right wing. And it kind of reminds me a little bit, not saying it's at this level, of when we had Bale and Lennon on the wings. And for me, that remains my best ever period watching Tottenham. I like to have two incredible wingers, left and right, be an absolute nightmare to defend against, proper go and attack teams. And he's the kind of player that gets people stood up in the stadium. And for me, when I pay for my season ticket, that's the kind of player I want to be watching.
Totally agree. Ash, let's bring you in. Savinho, look, it does appear Spurs are still pressing on, trying to get a deal done. Not going to be easy because Man City are really reluctant to sell the player. We know, again, as I mentioned in our previous episode, he started 3 of the last 4 games for City in the Club World Cup. Clearly a player that really, they weren't even thinking about selling. Guardiola's invested a lot of time in him in this last 12 months, coaching him, training him, giving him a lot of advice. Your gut feeling on this, Ash? Do you feel we can get a deal done here, given City's reluctance to want to sanction this transfer?
Well, I don't know. It depends what you read or what you hear. I've been talking to fans. I've been watching lots of tapes and hearing what Pep had said about him as well in a recent, not so recent press conference. I think it was about a month ago. And I think it was the Club World Cup. And he was just talking about his development and how he needs to improve on his finishing. That was the kind of take-home message I got from him. But he said if he gets that right, this kid's going to be something special. He's going to be world-class. He's going to be an elite player. And when I look at Savinho, and you did mention before about his numbers in the Liga, where he got 10 goals and 10 assists, and coming to the Premier League worries you a bit. From what I know is that they tried Doku on the right-hand side, and basically it wasn't working. So they put Doku back on the left, and then they put Savinho on the right. Now, Savinho had scored of his goals and assists from the left, but with Pep and Pep's typical size, he likes to have his left footer on the right side so he can cut in and shoot. But the way City play, they kind of favour their 2 attacking 8s, being Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva, or Phil Foden and Gundogan, or Phil Foden and whoever else plays in the 2-8s, attacking, pushing forward. Sometimes last season, it was Kevin De Bruyne. So it all depends who was in those pockets, and they would favour the shots. And the wingers would hug the touchline. And that's the reason why you're seeing Savinho's assist numbers are so high. And in terms of creativity, he's got the same amount of assists that or goal scoring opportunities or shots created for other players. He's got the same amount of Son. And Son was the the talisman for us in terms of creativity. So if you're bringing him in to replace Son, it makes sense because he's a player that can go on the outside. Some wingers, they get the ball, they cut back onto their foot and they pass it backwards. Savinho's not that player. He's really effective against low blocks. And for a lot of the games, they did play him on the right-hand side. And he still was able to create. When they did shift him over to the left, he was creating for Haaland. He had 2 or 3 different crosses where he fed Haaland in the box, and Haaland was able to get those goals on. But what you're getting with this guy, he's ultra dynamic, and his first touch is immaculate. And what happens with wingers, normally they need to take 1 or 2 or maybe 3 touches to get it under before they take that attack. And then that is easily telegraphed, or a defender can set themselves, or they can get them position to defend that, if I'm making sense. Because his first touch is so elite, But his second touch, he's gone. He's away. So not only is he fast, but his first touch is excellent. Well, he likes to beat players with body feints, and he's got good change of direction. So that's why he puts players unbalanced and he unsettles them. And that's why he's a different profile to what we have, because he's an out and out winger as opposed to a wide forward. I know that's really popular right now. And then if you look at these entries into the box, it's slightly higher than what Kudus has. Kudus needs to enter the box a little bit more to be effective. And I know Frank's probably working on that, trying to get Kudus into the box, because he gets into the final third, but actually making those actions where you're in the box and you're being decisive, and that will increase the shot volume, and therefore that should translate into goals. So when you've got Kudus on the right and you've got Savinho on the left, maybe Jed Spence playing the fullback, he would invert more, because Jed Spence has got a right foot, so that he would occupy the central space, if that makes sense. Add an Eze to that, you could have them interchanging, Eze interchanging with Savinho interchanging with Spence. And even when Udogi's back and he's fully fit, and you've got the doggy overlapping, you can switch it up again, because Eze could be in the left, and then you can get Savinho on the opposite wing, and we just have fluidity. That's what I'm trying to get at. The main point is that we have fluidity on your left, fluidity on the right, fluidity central, because all three players can interchange in each and any one position, and that will be a nightmare for any low block to deal with, if that makes sense.
100%, Ash. I think that's the key, isn't it, Vass? You know, I think this upcoming season we're going to have teams that maybe are going to pay a bit more respect to us under Frank. I think, again, it's no disrespect to Ange, but we know Frank is a manager that arguably we know is going to have maybe 2 or 3 different types of philosophies in the way in which you want his team to set up. There might be no given set play for how we're going to play against Burnley than to comparison City the week after. I think what we are going to find, again, we found it a lot at home, really. I think for the last 10 years or so, how hard it is to break teams down when they come to White Hart Lane, Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, they sit 10 behind the ball, and we've got to break teams down. Do you agree, Vass, on that point, that the likes of an Eze, the likes of a Savinho, just give us completely and utterly different options than what we've got right now when it comes to trying to break down opposition? Do you agree on that? The unpredictability those kind of players are going to bring to this side and get them over the line?
Yeah, because what you need in those circumstances, Rick, is you need men who are, or players who are good one-on-one.
Yep.
Can beat their man, get in behind, maybe put a low ball into the box. It's really tough when you get a team come and sit with a low block. We've experienced it so many times. And you can get a breakthrough, but it needs a quality pass. It needs an opening. It needs movement. It needs someone to beat a man. You know, and sometimes in the recent past, we've just been too content to recycle the ball. There's been a lack of bravery. So what you need is you need brave players, right? So you need players who are going to get the ball at their feet, take a player on, look for a quick pass inside just to create an opportunity. So this gives us all of what we're really looking for, and not even just for a low block situation. I mean, imagine the amount of times that with the speed of these fellas that we can hit people on the counter or on the transition when it comes to it. You know, there's so much flexibility in the play. You mentioned how Thomas Frank doesn't have a set way of playing. He's likely to have a formation to suit the opponent or the circumstances or the players available to him, depending. So we are going to see different things this season from the football team, and the more tools he has at his disposal, the more options and strategies he'll have to play.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how this does play out. I mean, I think the concern I've got with this deal, Bill, I don't know if you agree, is the fact that it does feel City are really reluctant to let him go. And I think that is the biggest concern here. You know, I think that makes it difficult for Top to try and get this deal done. But I mean, what might give fans a degree of confidence is, Bill, the player simply wants to move. You know, he seems to have green lighted the move. I mean, it's a really bizarre situation to be sat here where, from what we understand, 2 of what has now become the high-profile key targets of the summer in Eze and Savinho, through whether it's reports or intermediaries, it seems to have suggested they both want to come to Tottenham. Really, now, if we don't get these deals done, as we've said, the optics doesn't look great on Spurs, does it? But the fact that it does appear both of these players want to come to the football club.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of reporting about Pep Guardiola that as soon as a player says they want to leave, he's very happy to get rid of them. He doesn't like having any kind of player that doesn't want to be there. And we know in the past that he have sold a lot of players, even towards like the peak of their career. If you look at, sold a lot to Arsenal over the years. They sold obviously Cole Palmer to Chelsea a couple of years ago. Pep is quite relentless in selling players, that don't want to be there. So I do think there's a chance there. I don't think it's like, I've seen some people label it as, signing a City reject. I don't think it's like that at all. I think Pep would very happily. He started the friendly in the weekend, didn't he, as well?
Oh, yeah. Started through the last 4 games.
Yeah, it's not like signing a City reject.
No.
I think he's definitely in Pep's plans. I think the only thing that will be happening is because on Savinho's mind is it's a World Cup year. And obviously that at Tottenham he will be the star of Tottenham. Whereas at Man City, he's got Cherky coming in. And there's always competition for places of Man City, so I think that'll be the leading factor. Otherwise, I'm surprised that someone of his stature that pretty much starts most Man City games.
It's not just that. He's also competing against Oscar Bob, and Oscar Bob has started off
just coming back from injury, isn't he?
And the reason
he's an unbelievable player as well.
The reason why he's looking at a move is because Pep Blinders is their new coach, right? So he's their new second in command, and he came from Liverpool, and he was in charge of Klopp's Jurgen press, and he said to the players at the start, it's going to be intense. I need you to press like crazy, and that level of pressing, like we found out, that will break your team down. Ange had it through with our team, and we had numerous amount of injuries. We didn't have the squad to kind of deal with that type of relentless press with that super high line. So Pep Linders said straight away, we're going to need a big squad. But that just means your minutes are kind of outlined. You're not going to have as much minutes, first team opportunities as you would as the previous regime under the previous coach as Pep had before. So now what you're seeing is he's looking at it, as you said, Billy, it's a World Cup year. I need to be getting into that team. And at Spurs, with Frank, he does tinker with the system a lot. We're not always going to be pressing aggressively. Sometimes we are going to do the mid block. We set off a bit and we wait for the opposition to come onto us. And so that might suit the Brazilian a little bit more in that sense.
Yeah. And I think he'll just be one of our star players. Like at Man City, they've got so many players of his caliber already. Like he's, doesn't even scratch the surface there already. But for Tottenham, he'll be the guy. Well, he's a potential to be our guy.
On that point, Paul, you're right. Vass mentioned it. I think they're already eyeing up Vass alternatives. I think they're looking at Rodrigo. They seem to like the look of him. Obviously, Grealish has gone out the door for City. He's gone out on a loan. But they also appear to have made contact with PSG over Donnarumma, who we know is not in the squad to face us in the Super Cup final. So there's a lot of moving parts here, Vass, isn't there? I think that's the key thing with City. They seem to be really already in the market seeking the replacement, which is quite interesting because given the fact they seem reluctant to sell, they're already, it feels, making backup plans if they do end up accepting the player wants to join Tottenham, right, Vass?
Yeah, so, I don't know if the links to Rodrigo are happening in case they lose Savinho, or if it's a target that they actually would prefer, in which case they'll probably nudge Savinho out the door, get the deal done so they could bring Rodrigo in.
Yeah.
What Billy said earlier as well, I've read that too, that how Pep doesn't stand in the way of players who've expressed a desire to leave. If that is the case, then maybe that works in our favour as well. I think the next day or two are going to be critical. Obviously, there's the Super Cup final tomorrow. I don't know how much business gets done in the lead up to that, probably zero. It'll all go quiet and Spurs fans will start having another meltdown because we're going to lose out on these players. But by the end of the week, hopefully we will be wiser.
I think that's a really good point as well, Vass, because I know we're not going to talk about it much in this particular episode, but we're about to face the nastiest low block on the weekend. Burnley is going to be a horrific low block. If we can have one of those players playing by then, that'll make a big difference, man.
I agree. If we can get one over the line for Burnley, the lift that would give us all going into the Burnley game, because I do know there's a sense of concern for the PSG game. I get that. But I mean, look, from what we understand, both are in play. Fabrizio Romano says Tottenham keep working on both Savinho, Eze deals. Spurs want to add 2 attacking players to the squad, and those talks with Palace and City are ongoing. So both of them still in play. We shall see if Tottenham can get those over the line. There's been a very brief link to a Brighton midfielder. We'll just quickly bring you on this. Again, there's not a huge amount of validity behind this one as to whether this is a real genuine target Spurs are looking at between now and the end of the window. Facundo Buonanotte is apparently on the list of midfield targets Spurs are looking at between now and the end of the window. Now, there are suggestions that Tottenham actually looked at the player in January, and there are even suggestions that went as far as Tottenham actually lodging a bid in the region of 40 million for the player. There's been real nothing, I would say, of any concrete high-profile journalist claims to confirm that. Buonanotte spent last season on loan in the Premier League at Leicester City and put in impressive performances despite their relegation. His deal at the MX Stadium doesn't run out until June 2028, but an exit does seem on the cards this summer. I'll just get a very quick round of table, guys, if I can, on this. Do you just feel now, with the days remaining of the transfer window and with what we've got in play right now, do you think the sole focus now is just on getting Eze, Savinho over the line? We've discussed about the fact, Frank has about centre-backs. What do you guys now see as the priorities in this last 26, 27 days of the window? Ash, we'll start with you. What's the priorities in your mind between now and the end of that window?
Yeah, obviously, I think the club ideally want to get Eze over the line and Savinho, get their primary targets, because that's what Frank wants. Frank wants those players. He knows we need experienced players in the league to make the difference, supplemented with young players that also have experience but have quality that maybe other players in the squad don't have. We obviously finished 17th, and we know why that was, but we still need quality and we need to catch up with the rest of the pack, whether it be whether you think it's the top four, traditional top four, or whether you think it's a Newcastle, Aston Villa, etc., etc. But I think ultimately they're not stupid, so they're going to have their plan B, C, D, E, just in case. So they probably have like 3 or 4 players behind them, just in case it doesn't work out. And I think with Buonanotte, he's a player, another player that's young. He's about 20 years old, 21.
Yep.
Similar age to El Canous, who we've also been linked with. Again, both players, really good technical players, high level, excellent at passing, good in the build-up phase as well, in defensive third, mid third, excellent at switching the balls over the top, can even act as a metronome, meaning they can dictate the pace of the game through passes. Excellent, as I said before, ball carrying ability, and their shooting technique is quite good as well. But as I said before, when it comes to shot volume, when it comes to that final pass, that's the reason why their numbers aren't really stacking up. So I know that Buonanotte, I've been looking at him since Brighton. I remember him scoring a worldie outside of the box. I was like, oh, this guy's got something about him. Weakness of him, he's very left-footed. He's a bit like Lo Celso. So that makes him very predictable, makes him easy to be telegraphed, because we know what foot you want to shoot with. We know what pass you want to do, because you're going to use all of your same foot. So that's a bit of a downfall. He's 5'9". He is tenacious in the tackle. He's not bad at duel winning, but again, he needs to know when to press. He needs to have a bit more physicality about him as well. So that needs to be coached into him. And then another side of him is off the ball runs, because when I mentioned Eze, he lacks players that run off of him. And I know I'm talking about a player that could be replacing Eze if Eze doesn't get down the line, but his ability to break into the box, he hasn't quite mastered that. And that's the reason why his numbers aren't as high, even though he is a quality footballer. And Brighton, they do really good scouting. Obviously, he's from Argentina. So, you know, when it comes to the Argentinians, they're very technical, strong on the ball, good ball carriers, etc., etc. But again, he has his limitations early as well. I'd say for an attacking midfielder, he hasn't got that ability either. So there's a few things that you're like, wow, yeah. I mean, he's good. 40 million. I don't know if he's going to bridge the gap to what we need right now in terms of catching that pack that's already been built up, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Look, I'm going to go back to Eze for just a second. We are hearing a report coming in from the Beautiful Game podcast. They're saying Tottenham are pushing to get a deal done to sign Eberechi Eze. Spurs are more advanced than Arsenal as of this evening. An expectation is that a deal could be done under his 68 million release clause. So that is what we're hearing as of the latest update on Eberechi Eze. Spurs are more than advanced than Arsenal as of this evening. An expectation that a deal could be done under his 68 million release clause. And that comes on the back of some news that we are hearing. We'll come round, if I can, a Bill on this. Bill, this will be music to our ears if it does turn out to be the case. We are hearing that Tottenham have money to spend. Owners ENIC are understood to have injected cash into the football club. That comes from friend of the show, Sammy Mockbell. Thoughts on that, Bill?
Good. I mean, they have to. They have to. Like, this is such a. I think we're at such a crossroads at the moment. And the way that the other big five are spending this summer, we're going to get left behind if we don't do this. If we don't inject cash, we don't buy players that improve the first 11. I think, players like Buonanotte and El Khanous are really exciting prospects. I think one of my biggest criticisms of ENIC is that we haven't got the balance where we're buying young players like that and players that improve the first 11. I think last summer we signed 3 teenagers in Solanke. I'd be very happy to sign people like Buonanotte and El Khanous if we get the players in that also improve the first 11. That's the balance we've addressed. And to do that, you need serious money. There's only one way you can improve the first 11 is by injecting serious money. That's the only way you can do it. So this is a big positive step if that is indeed true.
Does that give you... Go on, Bill. Finish. I
was going to say, if that is true, that's what we want.
Yeah. Does that give you confidence, Vass, to follow on from Bill on there with the injection of money? I mean, do you feel they are going to put some serious money into this football club now and give it a right go?
Yeah, we heard rumours about this
a few
weeks back, didn't we? And then for a sort of maybe 12 hours, 24 hours, we felt like Tottenham were here. We're going to start behaving like a big club.
I was on holiday. I was told not to come home. I was told crackers set them all off. My phone was blowing. Don't come back. I wasn't going to come back.
So, we signed Kudus. We were going to sign Morgan Gibbs-White. There was money coming in. We were being linked with Adam Walton. And
all of a sudden, the stadium sponsorships coming in.
Stadium sponsorship coming in. But look, what Billy said is right. It's admirable trying to grow your club the right way and having it grow organically and doing it, without the need of a oil magnet or a Arab state or whatever the case may be. That is admirable. But you're at a level now, Tottenham, where you're in this bracket all by yourself almost, because you've got the clubs ahead of you who are constantly throwing money at the club, at the players, and growing their squads and everything else. You've got clubs around you like Villa, Newcastle, trying to sort of bridge gaps, and we seem to be in a little bit of a no man's land. If we are going to stop being gaslighted by the ownership into believing we are one of the elite, they've got to show us that is actually the case. So they do have to inject money. They do have to buy big, and they have to do something to keep up with the teams ahead of them. Otherwise, you'll never win a Premier League. You'll never win a Champions League, Mr. Levy.
Totally agree. Thank you so much for that, Vass. Also, we are hearing reports, again, Sammy Mockbell, following on from the confirmation around Spurs, hopefully injecting cash into the club. Spurs would also like to sign Mark Gahey, but the Crystal Palace captain prefers a move to Liverpool. That is his ideal destination. So look, if there's any change in that, we will let you know. We are going to go for our belated first break of the show. Let's hear from Thomas Frank, who is out in, of course, Dean with the team as we prepare for that Super Cup final.
Thomas, welcome to Udine. Another big moment for the club and another special occasion as well.
Yeah, massive moment, massive occasion. Personally, of course, I look very much forward to it. I'm very excited about the game. It's been a good pre-season. Finally, we started, and now it's the real deal. And we're looking forward to it.
Tell me about that for you, because I assume this is a really interesting challenge to prep for as a manager.
Yeah, of course. We're playing against we're playing a one-game final against the best team in the world right now, PSG. So that's of course a huge challenge, but I think it's an even bigger opportunity. I think it's a massive opportunity for us, for the club, for the fans to win again, and that's the plan.
Something that you're looking for in your players, I imagine, that pressure being a privilege for them, something that excites them on the big stage.
Yeah. Of course, they should be super excited to go out there and play. What a privilege it is to play against PSG in a Super Cup final. But again, opportunity, a challenge that we want to embrace, and we want to attack. We want to go after them.
Yeah, tell me how you've built out the game plan for this, because they have a lot of threats, but obviously we've had a very strong pre-season ourselves, so there's lots to think about, I imagine, for you.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to tell me the game plan now for the PC or no? I can keep it secret.
We'll do a little bit of secret. Maybe just give us an overview.
Yeah, no. Of course, we We trained in details, especially the last 2 days. Used a lot of time inside meeting rooms, long hours on the training pitch, and meetings after. So on paper, the plan looks very good. We are ready, and we're ready for the game.
How has this last few days been? Because you've had a little bit of a period back home. I know you've probably barely had a chance to see your own bed over the last few weeks, but you've had a bit of time at Hotspur Way. How important has that been?
Super important. We had a very short turnaround from the Asia tour to the Bayern game, so it's good to come back, day off, and then have 2 very good sessions home in our training ground.
And just tell me a little bit about the squad itself. How do you feel we're getting on in terms of where you wanted to be with a few days before the Premier League season starts as well?
I think the squad is in a good place in many ways, fitness-wise, a very good place. We, how can we say, touch with no injuries in terms of what you fear, that the soft tissue injuries. So that means we have done well, and they are fit, they're ready. The good thing is that Dom is back, so positive about that, and Destiny looks better.
So just give us the team news gaffer at the moment. Where do we currently stand? You mentioned Destiny and Dom on the edge, maybe?
Yeah. Dom is in a better place. He's available, so that's very positive. Destiny is getting better, not ready for the game. And then Bissouma has stayed home because of disciplinary reasons, so he's not travelled.
Best of luck tomorrow night.
Thank you very much.
There you go. That was Thomas Frank on the back of course, Spurs arriving in London ahead of our Super Cup final tie against Paris Saint-Germain. Can we net 2 trophies in the space of 3.5 months? Well, look, you can help Last One on Spurs try and do that. We're delighted on here to be up for the nominations for the Football Content Awards. We are in the final few days of nominations, guys. Can you help us bring a trophy home? You can do that by either hitting that QR code. You can also go to our episode description for more detail. On this show, I'm joined by, it's a Dr. Tottenham Spurs Kings crossover. I'm joined by both Billy and Vass that you're going to see often on, of course, Dr. Tottenham. No offense, Vass. I hope you don't hear Dr. Tottenham too much this season, but you can, of course, into their podcast, dropping at least once a week. Normally on a Sunday, Vass, am I right in saying that? We're still Sundays? Are we still Sundays?
Yeah, but we record live on Sunday evenings, but then it's out on audio soon after, and it's the videos are still there on YouTube as well.
Fantastic. And of course, we've got Ash over at Spurs Kings TV. They're also getting going. They're in the studio, of course, for their big watch along, of course, for that Super Cup final. Make sure you're going to check them over there. And of course, content dropping regularly over at Spurs Kings TV. Let's just give you a quick roundup before we do go to PSG as to what we understand to be the very latest on the scene of the transfer front at Tottenham. So as things stand at the moment, we are in, at the moment, all play for Eberechi Eze. It looks like Tottenham are leading that race. They're ahead of Arsenal as things stands. They are trying now to work out whether they either match the release clause, go under the release clause, look to agree a separate deal, other than going to actually match that specific type of formality of the deal. That's where we are with that. We understand that Savinho is a player that has given the green light to join Tottenham. Same as the situation with Eze. Thomas Frank has been pushing really, really hard to get both of these players over the line. We understand both of these are now Tottenham's top targets in these final 2.5, 3 weeks left of this transfer window. We also understand that Jed Spence is on the verge of signing a new long-term improved contract at Spurs that would see him tie his future to the club for a further 4.5 years with an optional year on there as an add-on. We are also hearing those reports that we said earlier that there has been and there are going to be continued financial injections coming into the club from ENIC over this summer, in which could help Tottenham get those transfers over the line. And like all of us, we hope really start to take this club to another level and outside acting like a big club. But it does feel like these next few days are going to really see where Spurs are at. Is this all a bluff? Are we going to get these deals over the line? I said it with you, Bill, earlier, with change for Spurs, just very quickly on this point. I think all the fans want to see is that the club match the ambition to the words they're showing. If we see that, Bill, I'm sure you agree, there'll be no need to have to arrange protests before the start of a season because the club will be doing what they're telling us is their aim, and that's to hopefully compete at the very, very top level, Will.
Yeah, and obviously in the past we've had different reasons for protesting to do with the ownership. This protest, if you look at the messaging behind it, is specifically to do with the transfer window. And signing these two players will go a long way to addressing that. And that's all at the end of the day anyone can ask for. And we will react to that in the time as well. Obviously, I hope people understand it's a really difficult thing to get right with the timing because, you can do something in football and then the next day Tottenham go and sign a player. If Tottenham, if we all wake up tomorrow and those deals are collapsed, then, the mood of the fan base is going to be very different. So it's impossible to get right, as this show is, we always, even on this show, we've had about 5 breaking news during the length of this one, haven't we? So, but we just want an ambitious football club. That is all we want as fans. And this is hopefully a good indicator that we're going to get it. But we've all just said, we've been here many times before. Let's actually go and get over the finish line now and show that we're actually ambitious.
Listen, but just to be very, very clear, I hope you agree. We don't care if you want to give us 20, 25 breaking news. If it's good breaking news, we'll give you the good breaking news. If it's bad breaking news, stay away. We're not interested. Right. We're going to talk about PSG. There's obviously been some very interesting news that's come out of the back of that Thomas Frank press conference. The key fundamentals to take away is that Dominic Solanke is available for selection for that final. He is back in the Spurs squad. We did see that Destiny Udogie did travel with the group. Our understanding is, and Frank said it as well, he will again play no part. He's not yet ready to train with the side. And one player that we know he's definitely not involved at all, and this is Bissouma. And this, as Frank touched upon in that short little clip you heard there, is down to disciplinary reasons. I have to get the thoughts of the panel because it's not the first time that we've been here with Bissouma, or the second time, or the third time. And Frank was asked to clarify the situation around why he's been left home for disciplinary reasons. And he said it's because of the players' poor timekeeping. He said, when pushed for an answer, he's been late several times. And now this is the latest time when it was one too many. With everything, you need to give your players a lot of love. There needs to be demands and consequences. And this time there was a consequence. I know we've got quite a bit of feed to squeeze in here, guys. But Vass, can I start with you on this? Yves Bissouma, the latest in the episode of misdemeanors at the club. How is he still here, Vass? I don't mean that disrespectfully, but how are we not trying to actively get players like this out the club that quite seemingly have let us down for so many years? I know we had a great final, but these are one-off games. We've not seen it consistently enough, have we?
No, somebody in the comments here called him a bit of a knucklehead, and I think that's what he is. He's he sort of found his feet towards the end of last season. He was instrumental in that UEFA Europa League charge towards the end of it and into the final. Seemed to have been getting his stuff together, to be perfectly fair. But again, if you can't be, as a professional footballer, if you cannot turn up on time for training, you should be early for training, never mind turning up on time. It's setting a poor example and he's letting himself down. I think perhaps he's doing it because he senses he may be leaving. I don't know. There's been links of him moving away to, I don't know, West Ham were interested. I don't know what other teams were interested. So perhaps he's got that kind of thing inside him. I'm going to be leaving soon anyway. And he's just slackened off. But no, it's not acceptable. Frank's done the right thing. I'm not sure he should have disclosed why he left him at home. But then I suppose it's difficult to avoid that issue when it's so obvious.
Yeah. What's quite interesting is he's been pushed, Bill, coming over to you. He was asked then, what does Bissouma have to do to rebuild those bridges with you and the squad? I mean, it's not the first time Ange was asked that same question, as we know, at the time when obviously when they had that balloon incident. He said, look, for me, how can I say it? A consequence for this trip, and then I'll follow up when I come home. I will park it for now because there's a relatively important game for us. The captain will also be announced for the squad. So the leadership group is going to be named at the end of the month, but there's a sole focus really on the game itself. But how disappointing is that, Bill? If this is a guy that wants to prove his worth to the manager, to be 3 or 4 times late. I mean, I know people laugh and say I'm 3 or 4 times. Actually, I'm a lot more 3 or 4 times late for this show, more like 30, 40 times. But that's a separate subject. Bill, I mean, how unacceptable is that for the manager? A new manager you're trying to impress?
Yeah, I think it's completely unacceptable. If you think about the history of Bissouma as well, I think the major frustration for me is he's such a talented player. Like when he's on it, and he showed that in that run up to the Europa League final as well, when he came in sort of at the quarterfinal stage and played every game since and was really good. There's so much talent there, but it's the application of it that is just not acceptable. And if you think about the history of him as well, he had 2 incidents where at the beginning when Ange first came, he was late. Exactly the same thing happened. And Ange said, he sort of took him aside, didn't he, and said, I want you to be a leader for these young players. Then there was the balloon incident. But among all that as well, there was also the incidents on the pitch. He got suspended. He got a 4-game ban, didn't he? Because he got 2 red cards or whatever it was. So there's just been countless times where this guy's let us down, and you have to be relentless at this, at this level. If you want to be a team playing in the Champions League, if you want to be an elite football club, you have to be cutthroat and say, we need you to move on to another club now, because this is completely unacceptable. I think that's I think by Frank answering that question about what can he do, I think Frank knows that there's no way back now. This has got to be it.
No. I mean, do you agree, Ash, on that point? Do you see it very, very hard now for Bissouma to have any kind of remaining future at the football club? I think he's been a player that we know Tottenham have tried to actively been selling across the summer. Vass mentioned it earlier. I think they've been trying to, if they can, push him maybe to the likes of a West Ham, a Fenerbahce, but no one really seems to want to buy him. I mean, is this going to be a problem for Ash coming towards the late part of the window, trying to get some of these players out, the likes of the Hills, the Solomons, the Bissoumas, dare I say the Richarlisons? How hard is it going to be to try and get these players out to then give us the chance to also bring more players in?
I think this is the club's way, maybe Frank's way of just trying to be a little bit more ruthless, because we have had problems in terms of getting players out. And a lot of fans have asked, why are we not like our competitors in terms of being ruthless and just like not playing those players? In terms of friendlies, there's loads of players that are still being playing and we're trying to get them out the door. Now, I do understand if you're trying to sell a player, you need to play him so other clubs can look at him. But at the same time, we need to let these players know also they're no longer in our plans moving forward. Now, that might seem a bit harsh, but in terms of Bissouma, I did see a clip where they showed him crying, and that was around the time when Son was leaving. And I was wondering, if this is my conspiracy, if he had been told at that time that he was no longer going to be a part of the plans, and did that affect his attitude in terms of his application of not turning up? The thing is, he's got previous, so it doesn't help. So and that's the reason why I say conspiracy, because if he didn't have that previous, he wouldn't have a leg to stand on. We wouldn't have to beat him over with the same stick. So he's run out of excuses at the moment for me. Unfortunately, you can have all the talent you want in the world, but you can't beat hard work and discipline. And I think Frank's trying to send a clear message out to the rest of the team. If that is the case, if he has been late many times, that he's not going to have it underneath his kind of tutelage. So I just personally think if he's up for sale and we're leaving him behind, I look at it both ways. I'm with it either way.
Yep. It's interesting. Frank was asked about the prestige of the competition, how excited it could be to get the club another trophy. And he said that I think for the club, for the team, for me, for everyone involved with Tottenham, it's a massive game, a great challenge, and an even bigger opportunity. That's how my brain works. I think there's a real opportunity for everyone at the football club. We're going to embrace it. We're going to do everything. We do know, as I said, that there's going to be a decision on the captain imminently, because whoever comes out of that tunnel wearing, of course, that captain's armband is going to be the man that's going to be leading this team forward for the upcoming 25-26 season. He was asked actually about Christian Romero and how important he is as a leader to the group, and whether this maybe gives us already a hint as to where this captaincy is going. He said Romero is going to be very, very big and an important player for us, especially for this game. He's a player that has been big in finals, won them, so he definitely knows how to get over the line, and that will be a big help. I think it's very important that these players, of course, just like the PSG players, my players are players. They just won a big trophy 7 or 6 weeks ago. So they've had a fantastic experience of doing that, and they want to win more. It was a great feeling. Everyone heard about it. Everyone's seen it. It's been a fantastic experience. So the players that we've got will be ready. But, of course, Romero will be absolutely crucial. Gut feeling, guys, a yes or a no. I know we're pushed for time here. Vass, will Romero be Thomas Frank's captain, yes or no for you?
Probably yes. It'd be difficult, though, Rick, to sort of bypass him, especially after he was one of the vice captains previously. He's a World Cup winner. He's probably the most successful player in our squad. It would be really hard to look beyond Christian Romero. So, yeah, for me, I think he probably will be. It's a bit of a shame that he still doesn't speak English publicly.
I agree.
I don't know if he speaks any English behind the scenes. You'd want him to maybe do the odd interview at the very least, wouldn't you, as a club captain?
On that point, Vass, do you agree with me that I can't see a world now if Romero steps into that captaincy, he's going to be giving that captaincy, surely they are then behind the scenes, Vass, to let you come back on this point. They must be talking about a new deal with him. And also, to your point, how can you have the captain of the club? And I mean this with no disrespect at all. He's going to have to do the interviews in English. I think, there's no doubt from what we can see online or whoever's doing the transcribing for him, he seems to understand what's going out on his social media being English. That seems to be very, very clear. I think the captain of the football club has to communicate, right? He has to be that leader and be that figurehead for the fans as well to tell us in certain situations what is going on there. So I'd imagine that has to be the case.
Well, it would. But then you've got to start thinking of what are the alternatives. If you want somebody who's going to be at the heart of the squad, uniting everybody, then you might want to look at Vicario, perhaps. But then you could also argue on the flip side that maybe his own role is under threat from Kinski.
Well, he had just a nice word about Kinski, didn't he? He said he's a very good goalkeeper. We're very pleased with him. He's got a great future here, which I felt was quite interesting, Vass, at the time of those comments.
So you might want to then take a safer option and maybe start thinking of people like Pedro Porro or maybe Mickey van der Ven. It really is, it's not an ideal situation where we are missing this kind of star, this leader that we mentioned earlier. And that's really what you need to be the club captain. So it's not going to be an easy decision for Frank, that's for sure.
Bill, gut feeling for you on that captaincy? Can you see it only being Romero? You think it's going to be Romero? You think so?
Got to be. He's from what he's done in the cup finals in Argentina, it's got to be him for me.
But do you think, Bill, on that basis, like I said to Vass there, if it is going to be Romero, surely they've then got to get behind the scenes. They've got to get a new contract underway because surely you can't be giving the captaincy of the football club to a guy that's got less than, 12, 18 months to run the deal. Sure, they've got to get that contract sorted, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so. And I think he's the kind of player that would really appreciate that and see it as a massive deal and hopefully then sign on to extend because, that's the kind of thing that he holds really dearly. And I think, Romero has made, just like us, he's made his thoughts about the board very clear over the last year or so. But if we go into a transfer window where you sign in £360 million players, and that's going to help you keep players like Romero as well. So I think it'll be massive if we can get him to extend. I think keeping him this summer is better than any centre back signing we can make by far. I think he's an absolutely exceptional player. So the next stage is now giving him a massive contract, pay him whatever he wants. That's what we need to do because he's earned it, and then make him captain as well.
Ash, do you follow that line the guys are saying there? Can you see it being Romero as the captain of the football club when he walks out, hopefully at the stadium tonight for our listeners on audio?
Yeah, I can't disagree with what the fellas have said. I personally saw him, not personally saw it, but I saw it on a video screen where he was talking to Frank behind the scenes and he was kind of instructing certain things or having like a full-on deep convo. And like, I felt like
that was very in depth, wasn't it? That conversation.
It felt like a talk between a manager or a coach and a captain.
Yep.
So I just draw my conclusion from that. I mean, you guys got valid points in terms of contracts. It's not being signed yet. So I mean, we can have our theories about it, but it is still a concern that he hasn't done anything yet. But I guess, us fans, we do want to see ambition, and so maybe he's waiting to see that as well.
We shall see. He was asked about having the advantage of a longer break than PSG. He acknowledged the fact that obviously that's helped because they've had a chance to obviously train more, try and get a rhythm into the game, whereas obviously PSG are coming straight off the back of that absolute hammering by Chelsea. They've not gone back into pre-season. So for them, this is kind of their first game back. I mean, does that in any way, Vass, coming to you on that point, does Spurs have an advantage by that? The fact PSG haven't had any real pre-season so far. It's a first game back. It's against a team that is Premier League opposition. We have been in training. We have had pre-season games. What do you think on that point?
Yes, it should help us. Let's not forget we jetted halfway around the world for a couple of those games. And I think it was reflected in the players' legs against Bayern to a certain degree. So it's not ideal. The Bayern defeat would also be fresh in the minds of some players. Somebody mentioned earlier that Dom Solanke's only had 45 minutes in pre-season. So should he start tomorrow, it might be a tall order. I guess the other thing that works in our favour is the fact that Donnarumma might not be playing for them now. Well, in fact, he isn't playing for them tomorrow.
He won't be. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, they might be rusty. Let's hope they are. and let's hope we can take advantage of that situation. But we're still going to have to be on our game because they're a very, very good side.
Yeah, agree. Look, let's go to that point in terms of the team news very quickly. For Paris Saint-Germain, we know for them, they are going to be without one of their key influential stars. The influential midfielder, João Navas, is not available for this one. They do have still some very good options, in terms of their squad. I think, you look at the likes of Desiree Doué, a player Spurs as fans we know very, very well. Bill raises a smile there. Another one that we missed out. Another one to tick off. Another one to tick off the bingo card. That bingo card is so long now. We've gone over we've gone forward and back. We're running out of bingo cards. To be honest with you,
we've actually been linked to that whole front three over the last few years. So that's impressive.
And the bench as well. The bench as well.
Yeah. And the manager. The manager's been in the office as well for an interview.
He's just come out and said that today, hasn't he? So
we've had the manager, the coaching staff, the bench. Just employ them all. Just go out of the way. Newcastle fans will feel the same though. I mean, they've seen United's forward line. That's all of Newcastle's targets this summer, and they're going to see them up against them at some point. So look, we're going to see how this does work out. I mean, very quickly, guys, the prestige, the manager of the game. How big a game is it? Very quickly, Bill, sticking with you. How big is the game?
I honestly believe that it's absolutely gigantic. I think it's huge. I say that as someone that is like, not being a pessimist, but I'm fairly confident that we won't win tomorrow because we're just playing against the best team in world football. But I'm not just saying that because, we're involved in it. I think it's huge. Like, you have to be a European champion to play in it. I don't buy the fact that it's like a glorified friendly or anything like that. I think this is a huge, huge trophy. And if we do manage to win it, then it'll be, one of the nights which goes down in our history. I think it's massive. I think, as you mentioned, the only chance that we do have is the fact that it's their pre-season. Let's be real. If it was mid-season, they'd absolutely, they'd beat most teams in the world. So they're unbelievable. I watched them in that Champions League last season. They were my favorite team to watch. They're just an absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, they're
team.
unbelievable to watch. Yeah.
We're just gonna have to pray for fitness. Pray for a bit of luck goes our way. Maybe we can go in there. But I think the occasion is huge, and you don't get many times in your life to see your team in a Super Cup. So I'm going to enjoy every second of it.
Oh, man. No, I totally agree on that point. I mean, Vass, are you kind of, again, similar mindset to Bill? You want to embrace it, enjoy it? I want again on that point, how much do you take away from it in terms of the game itself? The fact, as you said, PSG haven't really been back in training. Spurs have.
Mate, if we win tomorrow, I'm going to absolutely love it, and I'm going to give it to everybody because we're going to be champions of Europe. Or as Sammy said in our WhatsApp group, world champions of Europe. So we'll be the best team in Europe as far as I'm concerned. But if we lose, then it was only a friendly.
It's only a friendly, only a warm-up game, wasn't it? Only a warm-up game. What are you worried about? Ash, do you feel the same as the guys there on that point? How do you view
I feel like it's come too early. Do you know what I mean? In terms of Frank, is his first competitive game. I would have liked him to have a few games before having a Super Cup final and maybe a few transfers in. And we are missing, as we said, 96 goals out of our team. So it's not like we've got a fully fit team.
And six players as well.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? So I got my excuses already. You know what I mean? But listen, stranger things have happened. Who would have thought we'd beat Arsenal? Everyone was predicting we're going to get pumped there. So
yeah,
listen, look, I'm just going to enjoy it like the rest of you guys. I am a fan at the end of the day. I'm a Spurs fan. So come on, you Spurs. Let's get the boys. Hopefully the boys can do something. They can have a good performance because we need to go into the season on a positive note. So I'm hoping for them as well. They can go into it, with some confidence, and they've got a point to prove to their manager as well. Because obviously they're still the midfield three at the moment. I think anyone can get into that because on our last game against Bayern Munich, who PSG beat 2-0, by the way.
Yeah.
We had a midfield three of Bentancur, Palhinha, and we had Sarr. And for me, that didn't really work. It was too, pragmatic or too workmanlike. There was no real spark or, creativity in that midfield. And for me, we need to go slightly different if we have a chance of, performing and getting up the pitch. Tactically, there is a chance because I did see something like, they played a 3-2-5, meaning that the three centre backs in possession, they stand behind the ball, and the two fullbacks they bomb on. We know all about that, and so there are a chance down their sides to attack if we go direct. Also, sometimes what they will do is one of their fullbacks, if they're up, it might be a player called Vitinha. He's very skillful on the ball. but he's not physically imposing. So I can imagine, like, as a trigger, maybe Saar or whoever's up top, maybe they press him. Do you know what I mean? And they try to make him make a mistake, and you never know, something might come of it, or a set piece. I'm just saying, like, this is maybe a way in, but yeah, I'm with these guys, man. Do you know what I'm saying? But,
and anyone who's upset about not playing Donnarumma, he's just signed for Man City, so we'll see him in 2 weeks.
Oh, really? I confirmed. Bloody hell!
Only by journalists, but yeah, looks like it's on to Man City.
There you go. They don't stop today, Man City. Like I say, they're already scouting players. Will that help Tottenham's move for Savinho? We shall see. Look, we'll have to see what Spurs do, obviously. Look, focus will turn, of course, to that Super Cup final. But look, we do know that primary focus is, can Tottenham get over the line to absolute blockbuster deals that will very much change the course, change the tone, change the mood of this summer transfer window. Eberechi Eze, it is in play. Savinho, it is still in play. We shall see. Listen, from the wonderful Ash over at Spurs Kings, please go and check him out. Please go and check out Dr. Tottenham. You've got Bill and Vass that feature regularly on there throughout the season. You'll see Billie T on here when Vass won't strangle me for letting me have him on. He won't mind at all. It's all love. It's all games. It's all fun. We're fine. And we're ready to go again. Look, we'll update you with more. If you can keep liking, keep subscribing to everyone's respective shows and channels. As always, guys, thank you ever so much for your incredible support. Over 17,500 of you watching the show. We've not even hit the games, God help us, yet. What we've got to come. Should be a walk in the park. What are we worried about? It's not the end of the transfer window yet. What are we worried about? Should be fine. From Ash, from Bill, from Vass, from me, we've been the last one on Spurs. Keep safe, keep well, and as always, come on, you Spurs.